takes us next to item E, discussion and direction to the city manager regarding actions recommended to the current 23-24 GIO document about the future of the K through 12 educational model in the city of Williamsburg. Mr. Trivett?
Yes, thank you, Mayor, members of council. As you all know, the city has used a strategic planning process that dates back to the early 90s called the Goals, Initiatives, and Outcomes. We most recently conducted that effort over the fall and summer, and for the last 6 months we've been operating under the current GIO document, which is the 23-24. One component of that strategic planning process is to solicit a wide swath of public opinion from residents, and this year we used a much heightened process to do that and had a great response. We had over 900 participants at the Future Fest and a similar number of responses to surveys that were sent out. And one of the themes that came back in the process was that the city needed to continue to pay attention to innovation in the realm of public education, and specifically asking us to consider new avenues for educating in a public school system, K through 12, with greater tie-ins to higher education and certificate outcomes. And a lot of folks mentioned that we should rely on the assets that we have right here in our front door, including Colonial Williamsburg and William and Mary. And so to that end, today we were asking the City Council to let us proceed with what I feel is a worthwhile action step toward implementing the GIO that resulted from that process, which is that we do consider innovating our public education model. And so I'm asking today that the council authorize me to proceed with the completion of a feasibility study that would consider and explore the possibility of forming an independent City of Williamsburg Public School Division. As you all know, our joint system, the WJCC, is long-standing. Every 5 years, we renegotiate a contract with them. We're currently in year 2, I believe, of the existing contract, which gives us about 3 years to consider alternatives and determine what steps we might want to take. Every time we renegotiate the contract, the question comes up about what should our action be, and we don't always have all the answers. The purpose of this study is to give us some of those answers in a much more formal fashion than we've had in the past. So again, I ask that you authorize me to proceed with the feasibility study.
Well, thank you, Mr. Trivett, and I appreciate the thought that's gone into getting staff and council to the point where we can have this conversation. As you point out, I'll just say, we just went through the 3rd contract negotiation that I've been a part of. And in each of those times, we've asked ourselves as a body, is this the best will this deliver the best outcome for our students? And we really didn't have the information. And so recognizing that, and with the fact that through our strategic planning process, the goals, initiatives, and outcomes that Mr. Trivett had mentioned, the message is clear that we owe it to our citizenry to have this conversation, and which will lead us into this feasibility study. That said, no predetermined outcome has been prescribed. This is just a study, and I say that because what happens with our children is absolutely important to parents and all of us, and so there could be some concern in the community that all of a sudden next year there's going to be major changes. That is not the case. We're just going to go through the summer, have a study. Once we get that study back, then we'll know better how to proceed. Who knows what that study may say, but it may lead to future conversations, public forums, open houses, where we will then engage the citizens of Williamsburg in the conversation as how they think we best should move forward. So again, this is simply a study which will give us additional information that we can make a good decision. Because as pointed out, we have an obligation to our citizens to deliver the best possible education opportunities for our children, and it's natural to look at resources that we have here within the city. So I appreciate that. So that's where I'm at. So thank you, Vice Mayor.
Thank you, Mayor. And yeah, I agree. I think we have an obligation not only to provide the best education for our students, but we also have an obligation to respond to the amount of input that came from our GIO process. And for me, I think, as has already been mentioned, when we come to that contract every 5 years, there's always gaps that we don't have information, and this is going to fill in those gaps and better prepare us to make decisions going forward, whatever that decision may be. So again, to reiterate what the mayor said, this is just and the city manager, is just a feasibility study so that we fill in all of that information. So we're not wondering every time that contract comes up, what all of the details of where are we in the spot we need to be, both for our students, providing their education, and financially.
Yeah, I just want to thank you for the work, to get us to this conversation. I mean, very simply, I just think it just makes good sense to study something that's really important. And what's more important than our public education and making sure that we are doing the work that we are here to do, both for our students and our families and the taxpayers of our city. So, I think we would be we wouldn't be doing a great job if we failed to study something so important. So I look forward to just seeing what we learn. And then, after we see what the outcomes are of this study, then we'll see what the next steps are. So I think this is a very smart thing to start and to look into and to do and to look at this study. And I look forward to the continuation of the process.
And I don't have much to add to those remarks. I think it's smart that we are taking into account what our citizens brought forward in the future festivals. We've responded to their comments in other ways in our GIOs, and it's only responsible for us to continue looking at different ways, particularly for education, and this study will provide us a good starting point.
I agree as well with all that's been said. I attended multiple future festivals and heard this from some of the citizenry as an interest in us studying this topic of a potential independent school district. It's already been said that no changes will be made for the upcoming school year, and of course the public will be kept up to date about how we are going about the topic and what an actual study may elicit. So I'm excited to see the results, but would just reiterate the fact that this is just us diving in a little bit deeper to an issue, public education, which is so important to the city and our students.
Thank you all. I would add that I hope for anybody watching that they don't see this as an indictment of the current education that are being provided to the children. We have an outstanding school division. The people that work in our division do an outstanding job. And so this has nothing to do with any. There's no criticism involved in this at all, and certainly with our partners at James City County, this is purely an exercise for us to do what we think is fiduciarily responsible for our citizens in doing this survey, doing the study. So, thank you. Is there a motion to ask the city manager to move forward?
So I move that the City Council fulfill its obligation to periodically evaluate the best possible educational opportunities and outcomes for our students in the most fiscally responsible manner for our taxpayers, while satisfying the courageously leading GIO, and consider an alternative to the traditional K-12 education model for improved pathways to higher education and certificate programs through coordination with local institutions, and to that end, authorize and direct the city manager to evaluate generally running a Williamsburg public school district that is separate from James City County, what form such a district should take to serve Williamsburg students best and meet anticipated fiscal restraints, and to invite William and Mary School of Education to participate in a feasibility study.
Second.
Thank you. Ms. McKay, would you call the roll, please?
Mr. Rogers?
Aye.
Ms. Ramsey?
Aye.
Mayor Pons?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Dent?
Aye.
Ms. Kernchier?
Aye.
Thank you.